I sat in my cheap apartment in Malate staring at a crumpled pile of cash on the table. 40,000 pesos. That's about 720 US dollars. To a retired developer like me, that money was a rounding error. But for Joy, that stack of small bills was 6 months of grinding at a 7-Eleven. It was her brother's technical college tuition. It was her family's entire future. And she had handed it all to me because I lied to her. You tune into this channel to hear about guys getting fleeced by gold diggers. I thought I was smart enough to avoid that. I decided to run the ultimate test. I showed Joy a fabricated bank statement with a zero balance just to see if she'd run when the money dried up.
I am sorry I am not enough to support us both. Please take this for your ticket home. I cannot watch you starve here.
She didn't leave me because I was poor. She emptied her life savings to rescue me, then vanished because she felt ashamed that she couldn't keep me fed. I won my little game. My millions are safe in an offshore account, but holding those sweaty, crumpled bills, I realized I had just scammed the only person who actually loved me. Here is how my cynicism cost me more than any thief ever could. To understand how I ended up with that pile of cash and a broken heart, you have to go back 3 days. It was a Tuesday night in Malate. The air was thick enough to chew on, a mix of diesel fumes and humidity that stuck your shirt to your back the second you stepped outside. I was parked in my rented Toyota Vios outside the 7-Eleven where Joy worked the graveyard shift. I checked my watch. 2 a.m. exactly. She would be clocking out in 5 minutes. In my hand, I held the weapon I had forged earlier that afternoon at an internet cafe. It was a single sheet of paper, a bank statement from my primary checking account back in the States. But it wasn't the real one. I had spent 2 hours in a PDF editor, carefully erasing my actual balance, which was sitting comfortably in the mid-six figures, and replacing it with a row of zeros. Available balance, $0. Overdraft status, critical. I felt a smug sense of satisfaction looking at it. I told myself I was being smart. I was the savvy expat. I had heard too many horror stories at the local bars about guys losing their pensions to sweet-talking locals. I wasn't going to be another statistic. I needed to know if Joy was in this for me or for the comfortable life I provided. The sliding doors of the convenience store opened. Joy stepped out, untying her apron. She looked exhausted. There were dark circles under her eyes, but when she saw my car, her face lit up. That smile usually melted me. Tonight, I forced myself to stay cold. I was a scientist conducting an experiment, and she was the subject.
Hi, Mahal. You are early. You want a siopaw? I can go back inside and buy.
No! Get in the car, we need to talk. My tone was sharp. I saw her smile falter immediately. She climbed into the passenger seat, closing the door softly, sensing the tension. She reached for my hand, but I kept both hands on the steering wheel.
Is something wrong? Did I do something?
I didn't answer. I just reached into my pocket and pulled out the folded piece of paper. I smoothed it out on the dashboard, right under the glow of the street lamp so she could see the numbers clearly. I watched her eyes scan the document. I was waiting for it. The shift. The moment the sweet girlfriend mask would slip and the calculator behind her eyes would start running. Look at the bottom line, Joy.
What is this?
That is my bank account. It's gone. All of it. Bad investments, market crash, it doesn't matter. The point is, I have $0. I can't pay rent next month. I can't buy groceries. I am completely tapped out. I leaned back, crossing my arms. This was the moment. I expected anger. I expected her to ask why I was so stupid with my money. I expected her to get out of the car and tell me she couldn't be with a broke foreigner. But that isn't what happened. Joy stared at the paper for a long time. The neon red light from the store sign reflected off the white page, highlighting those zeros. Her hands started to tremble. I watched a tear slide down her cheek, then another. She wasn't angry. She looked terrified. She covered her mouth with her hand, her shoulders shaking. It was a silent, heavy weeping. I felt a spike of irritation. Why was she crying? Was the loss of my money really that devastating to her plans? Finally, she looked at me. Her eyes were wide, filled with a panic I couldn't understand.
Zero? You have nothing?
Nothing. I'm destitute, Joy. She took a breath that sounded like a sob. She looked at me with an intensity that actually made me flinch.
I thought you loved me.
That sentence hit me wrong. In my cynical mind, I translated it immediately. I thought she meant, I thought you loved me enough to tell me the truth, or I thought you loved me enough to provide for me. I heard an accusation. Before I could respond, before I could defend my lie, she opened the car door. She didn't slam it. She just stumbled out into the humid night air. She looked back at me one last time, her face streaked with tears, and then she turned and ran. She didn't run toward her apartment. She ran down the dark side street, disappearing into the shadows of Malate. I sat there in the running car, the fake bank statement still sitting on the dashboard. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Gotcha, I whispered to the empty seat. In my mind, the test was a success. She saw the money was gone, and she ran. It was textbook behavior. I felt validated. I felt like I had just dodged a bullet. I had no idea that I was the one holding the gun, and I had just shot myself in the foot. I drove back to my condo in Rockwell that night feeling a twisted sense of calm. I slept soundly in my air-conditioned master bedroom, surrounded by the quiet hum of luxury that I had worked 30 years to secure. I didn't feel guilty. I felt smart. I felt like I had successfully protected the fortress. To understand why what I did was so monstrous, you have to understand the math. The economics of our relationship weren't just unbalanced. They were existing in two different stratospheres. I was sitting on a liquid net worth of roughly $600,000, not including my pension. I had health insurance, investments in mutual funds, and a runway fund in case I ever needed to leave the Philippines in a hurry. I could buy a plane ticket to anywhere in the world without checking my balance. Joy, on the other hand, was existing on the razor's edge of survival. She earned the daily minimum wage for Metro Manila. That's about 610 pesos a day, roughly $11. She worked 6 days a week at that convenience store. After taxes and Social Security deductions, she took home maybe $270 a month.
Garrett, we just eat at the Carinderia tonight, okay? Jollibee is too expensive for just a Tuesday.
I used to get annoyed when she said things like that. I thought she was being cheap. But she wasn't being cheap. She was being mathematical. Every peso she didn't spend on fried chicken was a peso that went into a hollowed-out biscuit tin under her bed. I knew exactly what that money was for. We had talked about it. Her younger brother, Raleigh, was the hope of the family. He had been accepted into a maritime academy in Iloilo. If he graduated, he could get a job on a cargo ship and lift the entire family out of poverty. But the tuition deadline was 3 weeks away.
It is 40,000 pesos for the semester, mahal. I have 32,000 saved. If I take the graveyard shifts for the next month, I can make the rest. I just need to not get sick.
I remember her telling me that. I just need to not get sick. She was calculating her physical exhaustion against her brother's future. And I sat there with $500,000 in the bank and decided that this was the perfect time to pretend I was bankrupt. I knew she was 8,000 pesos short. I knew she was stressed. I knew the deadline was looming. In my head, this made the test more valid. If she stuck by me when she was that desperate for help, then she was the one. If she left me because I couldn't save her brother, then she was just using me for the tuition money. It was a cruel binary. I turned her family's survival into a pass-fail exam. The next morning, I woke up late. I made myself a French press coffee and stood on my balcony looking over the city skyline. I felt validated. She had run away. She hadn't called. The silence was the answer. I decided to drive back to the 7-Eleven around 10 in the morning. I told myself I was going there to buy water, but really, I wanted the final confirmation. I wanted to see her face. I wanted to see the shame of a woman who had been caught prioritizing her wallet over her heart. I wanted to look her in the eye and let her know that I knew. I parked in the same spot as the night before. The sun was blazing hot, baking the asphalt. I walked into the store, the electronic chime announcing my arrival. The air conditioning hit me, cold and stale. I scanned the counter. There was a young man there, someone I didn't recognize. No joy. I walked up to the register. The manager, a stern woman named Mrs. Reyes, who usually greeted me with a nod, was stocking cigarettes behind the counter. She turned and saw me. Her expression was ice cold. "Where is Joy? Is she working the night shift again?" Mrs. Reyes didn't smile. She didn't offer the usual Filipino hospitality. She slammed a carton of Marlboros onto the shelf. "She is not here, sir." "Well, when does she come in? I need to speak with her." Mrs. Reyes turned fully toward me. She looked at me like I was something she had scraped off her shoe. "She resigned, sir. Effective immediately. She came in at 6 a.m., cleared her locker, and left." I felt a surge of adrenaline. A smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. It was exactly what I expected. The money ran out, so the girlfriend ran out. It was classic. It was a cliché. Did she say where she was going? Mrs. Reyes just shook her head and turned her back to me. "No, sir. She just said she had to go find a way to fix things." Fix things? I almost laughed out loud. That was code for find a new foreigner. I walked out of that store with a spring in my step. The humidity didn't bother me. The traffic didn't bother me. I felt like the smartest man in Manila. I had kept my fortune. I had dodged the bullet. I had proven that all those cynical guys at the bar were right. I got back in my car and turned up the radio. I was free. I was safe. I was completely, utterly wrong. I pulled into the parking garage of my condo building in Makati. It was a nice place, one of those high-rises with a pool I never used and guards who saluted me every time I walked in. I remember feeling a distinct sense of superiority as I walked toward the lobby. I was the clever expat. I was the one who didn't get played. As I approached the glass doors, I saw a figure waiting in the shaded area near the driveway. It was a girl in a 7-Eleven uniform, but it wasn't Joy. It was Liza, one of the other cashiers. She looked nervous, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, clutching a white envelope against her chest. When she saw me, she didn't smile. Filipinos are the friendliest people on earth, but Liza looked at me with something that bordered on fear. Or maybe it was pity. I couldn't tell the difference yet. I stopped, removing my sunglasses. I assumed she was there to deliver a message from Joy, probably asking for a handout, a parting gift to smooth things over. "Yes, Liza." "What is it?" She handed me the envelope. It was bulky. It felt heavy in my hand, thick and uneven. It was sealed with clear packing tape, wrapped around multiple times, as if to protect the contents from a flood. I took it, expecting to feel the outline of a long handwritten letter. A manifesto of why I was a bad boyfriend. Or maybe unpaid utility bills she wanted me to cover. "Thank you, Liza." "Where is she?" Liza turned and walked away quickly, like she didn't want to be associated with me. I didn't care. I took the elevator up to the 24th floor, the envelope burning a hole in my hand. Inside my apartment, I tossed my keys on the granite countertop and sat on the edge of my sofa. I looked at the envelope. Garrett was written on the front in Joy's neat looping handwriting. I grabbed a kitchen knife and sliced through the layers of tape. I turned the envelope upside down and shook it. I didn't get a letter. I got a landslide of paper. Dozens of bills tumbled onto my coffee table. Purple 100 peso bills, yellow 500s, a few blue 1000s. They were old, soft, wrinkled bills. They smelled like the wet market, like fish and sweat and hard work. I stared at the pile, confused. My brain couldn't process it. Why was she giving me money? I was the rich foreigner. She was the poor cashier. The money was supposed to flow the other way. That's how the stereotype works. That's what I had guarded myself against. I started counting. My hands were shaking, though I didn't know why yet. 5,000, 10,000, 20, 30. I reached the bottom of the pile. There were exactly 40,000 pesos, about 720 US dollars. The room started to spin. The number was specific. It wasn't random. 40,000 pesos. That was the number we had discussed. That was the tuition fee. That was the barrier between her brother, Raleigh, and a life of poverty. That was every cent she had saved for 2 years, plus the 8,000 she must have borrowed or begged for in the last 12 hours. There was a small piece of notebook paper folded in with the last bill. I unfolded it. The ink was slightly smeared, like a teardrop had hit the page before it dried.
Mahal, please do not be mad. I saw the paper from your bank. I know you have nothing left. I cannot watch you starve here. You cannot survive in Manila with zero. It is too hard. This is for your plane ticket back to America. Please go home where you can be safe. I am sorry I am not enough to help you stay. I am sorry I failed you. Please forgive me.
I read the note 3 times. I am sorry I am not enough. I looked at the dirty, crumpled money on my glass table. This wasn't just cash. This was her brother's future. This was the family's exit strategy. She had liquidated her entire life, her entire hope for her bloodline, and handed it to me, because she believed my lie. She didn't leave me because I was poor. She left to save me. She thought I was destitute, stranded in a foreign country, and she sacrificed the only thing of value she possessed to get me to safety. I had tested her for greed. She had responded with a generosity so radical, so self-destructive, that it didn't even compute in my cynical, protected world. I sat there in my air-conditioned tower, surrounded by my hidden wealth, staring at the 40,000 pesos that represented the death of a young man's dream. I had won the game. I had proven she wasn't a gold digger, and in the process, I had become a thief. The silence in my apartment was usually something I cherished. It was the sound of security. It was the sound of walls thick enough to keep the chaos of Manila at bay. But in that moment, staring at the pile of dirty bills, the silence felt like a courtroom just before the verdict is read. I touched the money again. It felt damp, humid. I closed my eyes and did the math. I couldn't help it. My brain was wired for calculation. Joy earned 14,000 pesos a month. After rent, food, and transport, she maybe saved 2,000. Maybe. 40,000 pesos represented nearly 2 years of perfect, disciplined austerity. It was 730 days of skipping lunch. It was 2 years of walking home in the rain to save 10 pesos on a jeepney fare. And the rest? The bills that were too crisp? She must have borrowed those this morning. She had probably gone to a loan shark, the 5-6 lenders who charged 20% interest per week. She had shackled herself to debt to buy a plane ticket for a man who had $300,000 sitting in a Vanguard index fund. A wave of nausea hit me so hard I had to lean over the counter. I wasn't just a liar. I was a predator. I had come to this country convinced that I was the prey, the target, the walking wallet. I had built a fortress of cynicism to keep the bad actors out. But the fortress had no windows. I couldn't see out. I couldn't see the reality of who Joy was because I was too busy looking at my own reflection in the glass, patting myself on the back for being so smart. I grabbed the envelope. I grabbed the cash. I stuffed it all into my pocket along with my wallet. I had to find her. I had to explain. I had to give this back, double it, triple it, pay the tuition, pay the rent, fix the damage. I ran out of the apartment. I didn't wait for the elevator. I took the stairs, my footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell like gunshots. I burst out into the humid afternoon air and flagged a taxi. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open the door. Pasay. Near the rotunda. Go. Fast. The driver looked at me in the rearview mirror, sensing the panic. He drove aggressively, weaving through the jeepneys and the tricycles. I watched the city blur past, the poverty, the grime, the energy. For the first time, I didn't see it as a threat. I saw it as the gauntlet Joy navigated every day just to bring me a Tupperware of adobo. We pulled up to the street where she lived. It was a narrow alleyway, barely wide enough for the car. The boarding house was a 3-story concrete block painted a fading, chipped green. Laundry hung from every window like surrender flags. I threw 500 pesos at the driver and didn't ask for change. I ran up the narrow stairs, skipping steps, dodging a stray dog that snapped at my ankles. 3rd floor. Door on the left. That's what she had told me once, though I had never visited. I had a rule against visiting. Don't let them get comfortable with you in their space, the expat forum said. Keep the boundaries clear. I hammered on the plywood door. Joy! Joy! It's Garrett! Open the door! The wood rattled in the frame. There was no answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Joy, please! I need to talk to you. The door to the adjacent unit opened. An older woman with curlers in her hair peered out, looking annoyed. She wiped her hands on a rag, eyeing me with deep suspicion. This wasn't the polite deference I got in the tourist zones. This was the look reserved for intruders. Where is she? Where is Joy? The woman frowned, crossing her arms over her chest. Gone where? To the store? To work? I felt a cold spike in my chest. Did she say where? Did she leave a number? Which province? Do you know the town? The woman shrugged. A gesture of indifference that cut me deeper than anger. She looked at my nice shirt, my watch, my shoes. She put the pieces together faster than I ever had. Yes, I'm the boyfriend. The woman shook her head, clicking her tongue in disgust. I couldn't answer. My throat had closed up. I backed away, the shame burning my face hotter than the tropical sun. I turned and walked down the stairs, the woman's judgment following me like a shadow. I went to the pawn shop on the corner. I asked if they had a phone sold by a girl named Joy this morning. The man behind the glass cage nodded. He showed it to me. It was her cracked Samsung, the one she used to video call me every night to say goodnight. I bought it back. I turned it on. No SIM card. She had snapped it or thrown it away. She didn't want to be found. She had executed a complete retreat. In her mind, she had failed. She had found a man she loved, found out he was bankrupt, gave him everything she had to save him, and then, unable to support him or herself, she had retreated to the countryside to start over from zero. I stood on the corner of that dirty street in Pasay, holding her broken phone and a pocket full of her cash. I checked the bus schedules on my own phone. There were dozens of buses leaving for the Visayas every day. Ferries, ro-ro ships. She could be on any of them. I didn't even know her last name. That's the detail that killed me. I froze. I knew her as Joy. I knew her face. I knew the sound of her laugh. But on the forms, on the Western Union slips I had never sent. I didn't know her full legal surname. I had never asked to see her ID. I had kept myself so detached, so safe, that I didn't even have the basic information needed to track her down. I was a ghost in her life, just as I had intended. And now, she was a ghost in mine. The ride back to my apartment took 2 hours in the gridlock traffic. It gave me plenty of time to think. Plenty of time to review the venture abroad philosophy I had subscribed to. We tell ourselves we are the smart ones. We come to these countries with our pensions and our savings, and we read the horror stories. We read about the guys who lose their houses, the guys who get scammed by a pretty face, the guys who end up drinking themselves to death in a cheap bar. And we say, not me, I'm too sharp, I'm going to test them, I'm going to protect my assets. So we build tests, we verify, we doubt, we look for the scam in every smile. We treat intimacy like a forensic accounting audit. I walked into my apartment. It was cool and dry. The air conditioner hummed its steady, expensive rhythm. I walked to the coffee table. The fake bank statement was still there, the one showing $0. Next to it, I placed the stack of 40,000 pesos, the dirty, crumpled, real money. I sat down and poured myself a whiskey. I didn't turn on the TV. I just stared at the two piles of paper. One was a lie that cost me nothing to print. The other was a truth that cost Joy everything she had. I tried to find her for 3 months. I hired a private investigator, but with only a first name and a vague description of from the province. He just took my money and gave me nothing. I went back to the 7-Eleven every day for weeks, hoping she would walk in, hoping her friends would talk to me. They froze me out. The manager threatened to call the police if I kept harassing his staff. They knew what I was. They knew what I had done. Eventually, I stopped looking. The city moved on. Manila doesn't stop for heartbreak. It just keeps grinding. I still live in this apartment. My net worth has gone up another 10% this year. I'm safe. I'm secure. No one has stolen a dime from me. But every time I walk past a 7-Eleven, I feel a hollowness in my gut that no amount of money can fill. I see old men with young girlfriends, and I don't judge them anymore. I wonder if they are brave enough to trust, or if they are just like I was, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the bill to come due. I wanted to know if she loved me, or for my money. I got my answer. She loved me enough to starve for me, and in return, I let her walk into the dark, believing she wasn't good enough. That's the trap, gentlemen. That's the real danger of venturing abroad. It's not that you'll lose your money, it's that you'll lose your humanity in the frantic attempt to keep it. You might think you're playing a game of chess trying to outsmart the locals, but sometimes you're playing against someone who isn't playing a game at all. You're playing against someone who is just trying to survive and love you at the same time. I look at that 40,000 pesos. I still have it. I keep it in the envelope in my safe, right next to my passport. It's the most valuable thing I own. It's the price tag of my arrogance. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about setting up a test for your girl, if you're thinking about playing poor to see if she sticks around, just remember my empty apartment. Be careful what you test for. You might just get exactly what you deserve. I'm Garrett, and this has been Venture Abroad. Don't make my mistake. The cost is higher than you can afford. The characters, incidents, and dialogue in this video are dramatized for narrative and entertainment effect. While some events may be inspired by real-life themes, this story is a work of fiction.